right? And the reason I bring up Dana White off the bat, because God, two things, man. They're like UFC right now. What I'm hearing and over like that. The first thing is this huge class action lawsuit. That's going to be it. Obviously, if won, that's heavily weighed. Like that is going to be paying out anywhere up to 1.6 to 4.8 billion dollars. What is UFC right now worth? You can look that up for me.
That I could see that.
Like
that makes sense.
And in this lawsuit right now with a class action, like that is going to be over 1,200 fighters that can claim to the to this lawsuit. It was filed over 10 years ago.
The whole industry is worth $12.1 billion.
12.1, about a third of what they're worth, like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
You think that's crippling?
Nah.
A third like that? I think, man, they're gonna get a little tighter on the pay even more for the fighters if that happens.
Because they're fighting at the UFC complex.
Yeah,
they're not fighting at They're not fighting in hotels anymore as much.
Yeah.
They've got their own complexes that they're fighting. They own so much of the things that they own so much of stuff that they're fighting in.
That's a good point.
That it's like, okay.
So, being the expert on this like that, explain to the viewer right now that's watching like that, exactly how a class action lawsuit, works out and benefits everybody.
So, what a class action lawsuit is so generally when you have a lawsuit, you have A versus B, right? Two different people. But
so me and Lynn versus you, like
right. Mm-hmm. So that's a standard lawsuit. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you have a class action lawsuit is you have a group of people with a similar who have been aggrieved a similar way. So what I mean by when I say aggrieved a similar way is like they all suffered the same type of harm from this individual or group of individuals.
And is it one? Is it usually just one like lawyer that blankets all of them, or did they all have their own individual?
It just depends.
It just
depends because you have different types.
Obviously,
of class.
you want to be the lawyer that covers all of them.
Well, so generally what you do is that it's generally that you have multiple lawyers, because you can have a class action lawsuit with 20 people and have one lawyer cover 20 people.
Yeah.
Or you can have class action lawsuits with these like pharmaceutical companies and they end up in multi-district litigation where you have,
one in Texas, one in California, one in New York.
One in the Southwest, one in the Northwest, because that's why they call it multi-district, because it's like there's so many people involved in this. But generally it's different people. But what they do is they certify, so you go to court and you end up certifying a class. And when you certify a class, that's basically a court determining that all of these people are similarly situated against this one particular person. The benefit of certifying a class or having a class action lawsuit is it benefits both parties. One, it helps the cases settle faster, but it also helps the defendant also. Because what will end up happening in a lot of these class action lawsuits is they will say, okay, look, we're guilty. Here's a pot of money.
Yeah.
Now everybody can just take out of this pot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't have to come after my pockets individually. Whereas if I'm 1,200 people, if each one of those 1,200 people, let's say, is owed, you look at the amount of money that they could have lost, and it could have been, $2 million a piece.
Yeah.
Well, now it's $2 million
over
times 1,200. And now you're like,
Dang.
oh shit, how much money did I really lose here?
Yeah.
But instead, you certify a class. The class settles, and they say, here's what's going to happen. We're going to put $100 million over here, and now the defendant's not really worried about it. Now all of y'all are crabs in a barrel fighting over the $100 million.
Yeah.
And so, it kind of helps both people out, but it really does put you in a and it helps. The reason they do it is to unclog the courts.
Yeah.
Because you don't have 1,200 cases filed in court anymore. You have
Facebook
one.
just went through a class action lawsuit and stuff like that. And like anybody could have freaking latched onto that if they just signed the thing.
Bro,
and
they come in your mail all the time.
And I think freaking I think whoever did go onto the class action lawsuit and because it won and stuff like that, they only paid out like $60 or something like that.
No, bro, you get them all. If you really check your mail, they'll be like, there's a class action lawsuit against Sprint, against T-Mobile, against AT&T, and then if you get if you get in and sign the thing, like you'll get a check for like $1.36.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, look, I won this money, but you really did.
So let's discuss what the class action is about. And so when we say UFC, all right, so the viewer out there that doesn't know like that, we're not talking about Ultimate Fighting Championship. All right, we're talking about Zuffa. Zuffa owns UFC. All right, like that. So if you didn't know, all right, like that. And so there's 3 different things that they're suing them for. All right, so use of long-term exclusive contracts with fighters. All right, to limit their mobility. All right, and to limit their mobility and prevent them or delaying free agency. All right?
Okay,
like that. So obviously they can't be a free agent and go play other grounds like PFL or ONE or any other freaking
Bellator,
like that at the time and stuff like that. No, you're exclusively just to us like that. And so the second one is that the market dominates to coerce fighters to re-sign contracts. All right, making the contract effectively. God, I can't even read my own handwriting. Perpetual. All right. And what does that mean? All right, like that they're forcing these guys, like that. Either you're gonna stay with us.
Where else you gonna go?
All right, where else are you gonna go? Yeah, exactly, like that. And then that goes with the next one, meaning that they acquired and closed down for multiple MMA promoters or promotions, like that, buying out Pride, buying out Strikeforce, Bellator, WEC, like that. Effectively. Or essentially almost making a freaking a monopoly.
Almost making a monopoly.
Yeah, like that. If it wasn't for them just, and, I think if they had the choice, like that, they would probably, offer and buy out, PFL and freaking ONE, being the only one. But obviously, that's not gonna go.
I think they probably would too.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so those are the 3 major counts right there of the lawsuit for the class action. Like that. So out of all of these, which one do you think is like the most egregious one that for sure they have the best?
I definitely think it's the perpetual contract,
forcing them to stay there.
I definitely think it's a perpetual contract
and stuff like that.
I definitely think it's that because, again, that goes to overweening bargaining power.
Mm-hmm.
I take away all your other avenues, and now you're stuck here.
Yeah.
And then what ends up happening there, and I'm sure that a lot of those 1,200 will be able to say this, you lock me into a contract, then you tell me, then you don't find me any fights. So I'm not getting paid. I'm just stuck.
Yeah.
I can't do anything.
Do you see a strike in the future? Something like this? Like, because normally that's what really happens, all the time, when in the NFL, NBA, and like that.
Detroit.
Like
I
that.
know.
If you don't pay us or, like that. And they don't have a
labor
union, huh? No, they don't have. Well,
Nope.
That's what freaking Francis Ngannou was fighting for, and that's why ultimately got him kicked out.
This is why I don't think. Yeah, unions do.
Yeah.
They do, and players associations, what they call like NFL, NFLPA, NBAPA. They have the players association, and that's cool. But the reason I don't see a strike happening is because you will have enough people that want to eat now. And so, like in the old school when they had strikes at like the factories and stuff, they had those people called not carpetbaggers. Those were
the replacements.
They were the replacements.
Yeah.
They were the people that crossed the line, and the people that crossed the line because they were like, hey, you know what? They don't have any supervisors, and they're willing to pay me an extra $1 more that they wouldn't have paid me before. So I'll go in and work. Yeah, and you have enough people. There's enough hungry people out there.
I'm gonna come out of retirement.
That want to fight. They will say, "Oh, y'all striking? Y'all need fighters? I'll go."
Since
and they'll get paid half
to win a championship,
and they'll get paid half the money.
Watch out for you. All right?
They'll get paid half the money to go across.
Put my hat back in the ring.
And then you have people that just don't give a fuck. Like you just have people that are just selfish. That they're just selfish. Like I'm still getting paid. Why do I care? If you get good and you'll get paid. Yeah. Get good and you'll get a fight. You're not on the fight because you're not good.
Yeah. I get it.
So
that's tough. That's tough. All right, like that. And so then